gulfs over 1,000 feet deep, that dips into warm, wet, shut-in valleys, and climbs out across bare, grassy hill shoulders where the sun strikes like a burning glass, or turns through dripping, dark forests where the tree ferns dress the trunks from head to heel, and the pheasant calls to his mate, and he met Tibetan herdsmen with their dogs and flocks of sheep, each sheep with a little bag of borax on his back, and wandering woodcutters, and cloaked and blanketed lamas from Tibet coming into India on pilgrimage, and envoys of little solitary hill states, posting furiously on ring-streaked and piebald ponies, or the cavalcade of a Rajah paying a visit, or else for a long clear day he would see nothing more than a black bear grunting and rooting below in the valley. When he first started, the roar of the world he had left still rang in his ears, as the roar of a tunnel rings long after the train has passed through. But when he had put the Matiani Pass behind him, that was all done, and Purun Bhagat was alone with himself, walking, wondering and thinking, his eyes on the ground and his thoughts with the clouds. One evening he passed the highest pass he had met till then. It had been a 2 days' climb, and came out on a line of snow peaks that banded all the horizon. Mountains from 15 to 20,000 feet high, looking almost near enough to hit with a stone, though they were 50 or 60 miles away. The pass was crowned with dense, dark forest, deodar, walnut, wild cherry, wild olive, and wild pear, but mostly deodar, which is the Himalayan cedar, and under the shadow of the deodars stood a deserted shrine to Kali, who is Durga, who is Sitala, who is sometimes worshipped against the smallpox. Purun Das swept the stone floor clean, smiled at the grinning statue, made himself a little mud fireplace at the back of the shrine, spread his antelope skin on a bed of fresh pine needles, tucked his bairagi, his brass-handled crutch, under his armpit, and sat down to rest. Immediately below him the hillside fell away, clean and cleared for 1,500 feet, where a little village of stone-walled houses, with roofs of beaten earth, clung to the steep tilt. All around it the tiny terraced fields lay out like aprons of patchwork on the knees of the mountain, and cows no bigger than beetles grazed between the smooth stone circles of the threshing floors. Looking across the valley, the eye was deceived by the size of things, and could not at first realize that what seemed to be low scrub on the opposite mountain flank was in truth a forest of 100-foot pines. Purun Bhagat saw an eagle swoop across the gigantic hollow, but the great bird dwindled to a dot ere it was halfway over. A few bands of scattered clouds strung up and down the valley, catching on a shoulder of the hills, or rising up and dying out when they were level with the head of the pass. And "Here shall I find peace," said Purun Bhagat. Now a hillman makes nothing of a few 100 feet up or down, and as soon as the villagers saw the smoke in the deserted shrine, the village priest climbed up the terraced hillside to welcome the stranger. When he met Purun Bhagat's eyes, the eyes of a man used to control thousands, he bowed to the earth, took the begging bowl without a word, and returned to the village, saying, "We have at last a holy man. Never have I seen such a man. He is of the plains, but pale-coloured, a Brahmin of the Brahmins." Then all the housewives of the village said, "Think you he will stay with us?" And each did her best to cook the most savoury meal for the Bhagat. Hill food is very simple, but with buckwheat and Indian corn and rice and red pepper and little fish out of the stream in the valley, and honey from the flue-like hives built in the stone walls, and dried apricots and turmeric and wild ginger and bannocks of flour, a devout woman can make good things, and it was a full bowl that the priest carried to the Bhagat. Was he going to stay? Asked the priest. Would he need a chela, a disciple, to beg for him? Had he a blanket against the cold weather? Was the food good? Purun Bhagat ate and thanked the giver. It was in his mind to stay. That was sufficient, said the priest. Let the begging bowl be placed outside the shrine, in the hollow made by those two twisted roots, and daily should the Bhagat be fed. For the village felt honoured that such a man he looked timidly into the Bhagat's face should tarry amongst them. Section 5